What's up everyone? I hope you are doing well today. In today's video we are going to be embroidering a hat on the Happy Japan HCU. We're also going to be doing a little bit of puff embroidery on it, so that's quite cool. In this video I'm going to be showing you how to hoop up and embroider on the hat. If you'd like to see a video on how to set up your calf driver for the HCU, then I have already done a video on that, and I will leave the link to that down in the description below. By the time I post this video, I'll probably already be back from my holiday, but I really wanted to make something to take with me abroad that kind of reps my brand a little bit. We're going to Las Vegas, and if the rumors are true, Las Vegas is incredibly hot. So I didn't want to make anything like a hoodie or a sweater, so I thought I would make me and Jordan some ball caps to protect us from the sun. No matter where you are in the world, ball caps are always incredibly popular, and they're probably a good thing to add to your inventory if you're thinking of starting an embroidery business. In general, I do find hats quite a struggle to embroider onto, so we're going to be learning together in this video.
First off, if you are using a structured hat or a hat that has quite a thick seam down the centre of it, then I recommend you swap your standard 711 needles to a titanium coated 8x12 needle. The titanium makes the needles a little stronger, so when the needles are stabbing, there is no snapping. And the 8x12 size just means that the needle is a little larger to penetrate thicker seams. You don't have to do this, but if you come across a hat that is prone to breaking needles, then I recommend it to stop those breakages from happening. Happy Japan cap assembly is made up of 3 parts: the cap driver, which we have already mounted to the embroidery machine, the hooping station, which you can see is attached to my work unit, and then the cap frame, which we use to hoop the hats up on. On the hooping station there are 3 little clasps, the 2 on the top and the 1 on the bottom. When you are inserting the hat hoop over the barrel of the hooping station, you want to make sure that the hat hoop clicks into these 3 clasps to make sure that it is secure. I recently learned that the hooping station actually has a hinge that lifts up and makes it easier to access the bottom of the hat. To do this, there is a little screw on the inside which you can just twist off, and that allows the hinge to lift up. To begin hooping the hat, you first need to unclasp the arm from the little latch on the right hand side of the hat hoop. Bring that arm over, and if you find when actually hooping up the hat that the arm is a little bit tight or a little bit slack, then there are 2 screws on the left hand side of the hat hoop which you can either slacken off, or I'm just watching myself on the video now, I'm making an absolute meal out of it and it's embarrassing. Please use a better screwdriver than the one I am using here. It would make things a lot easier for you, but as you can see there is plenty of adjustment for you to accommodate any hat you are trying to embroider on. I usually use 1 layer of a medium or a lightweight tearaway stabiliser for my hats, and I insert it under the central tab. If you're using a structured cap like the one I am in this video, you actually don't have to use stabiliser, but sometimes I like to use it just to be on the safe side. The next thing you need to do before hooping your hat over the cylinder is untuck that inside band of material to make sure your embroidery machine doesn't stitch on it. So that black band should fit under the tab with the red center line on it. And if you align the center seam of your cap with that red line, then you know that your hat is squared up and ready to embroider on. You bring the strap over to secure your hat. Sometimes if the strap is running a little tight, it can drag the hat over to the right and off-center it. Obviously, the best and proper way to fix this issue is to slacken off the strap. However, if you're just embroidering a one-off hat and your hat hoop is set up to, embroider on hats you embroider on all the time and this is just a one-off, then a little tip is just to slightly offset the hat to the left before bringing the strap over, because then when you do bring the strap over, it pulls the hat to the right and centers it again. Obviously, we never really do that. We always slacken off the strap or tighten the strap where appropriate. So for real this time, the aim of the game is to get your hat sitting as flat as possible against the barrel of the hooping cylinder. If your hat has a curve in its peak, then I recommend bending that back a little bit to flatten it out. Then with one hand, you are going to grip the material quite firmly and quite tightly at the bottom of the hat, making it relatively taut, while the other hand brings over the strap. On the strap, you'll see those little ridged teeth start to grip onto the hat material. And you are going to want to follow the bottom seam of the hat around with the strap, making sure that it hugs the peak of the cap as tightly as it possibly can. Doing so maximizes your embroidery space, but most of all, it makes sure that all your embroidery is even on the hat. You bring the strap over all the way to the right hand side where it fits behind that little notch. See, there's a hook and it fits behind the notch. And then the latch of the strap clicks into place. You flip it up and now the hat is secure. If you think that the front of the hat could be a little flatter or stretched a little tighter, or that you want to do some embroidery on the sides of the hat, then flip your hat over. And if you have owned the machine from brand new, or if you were just a very lucky person who purchased the cap assemblies second hand and the previous owner hasn't thrown these little clips away, but if they are lost, don't worry, you can replace them with standard bulldog clips. To get your hat material really taut and flat, you can use these clips to trap the material against the posts and hold it in place, and this will help flatten the hat. The flatter you can get your hat, the more it promotes better registration with your embroidery. With the HCU, you do have to tell her that she is embroidering on a hat today. So from the hoop selection on the welcome screen, you hit the cap driver option, and then you can select which cap driver you're using. Today I'm using the standard cap driver as I'm only embroidering on the front of the hat. HCU, the embroidery area on the standard cap frame, which is what I'm using today, is 7 centimeters tall by 18 centimeters wide. But there is a wide version cap frame which is a massive 36 centimeters wide. And this means that you can embroider on the sides of caps without having to re-hoop. I will definitely be looking more into this when I come back from my holiday, but for now I've selected the standard cap frame and I'm going to press set. It asks you to remove the frame hold arms, which we already have, and I show this in that previous video, and then we're going to press next again. And we are taken to the home screen. I was embroidering this little design last time, and as you can see, the Happy machine has already flipped it to the correct position for embroidering on a hat. For this project, I will be embroidering a different logo onto the hat to make the most of that 3D puff. First, I put the peak of the cap underneath the needles and then twist it upward. I slide it onto the cap driver and you want to click it into those little clasps and hear 3 clicks. I always run a trace around the logo just to make sure that it is sitting in the correct position on the hat, and then I can make any adjustments if necessary to make it even. Now it's time to embroider on the hat. Like I said at the start of the video, I am going to be doing some puff embroidery. I'm using the 3mm soft bodybuilding foam I bought from Madeira, and to hold a slice of this 3D puff foam in place, I will be using a rubber band. I cut enough 3D foam to cover the entire embroidery space, I find it's better to cut too much foam as it does tend to shift around a little. I place the rubber band at the top of the foam to hold it in place away from the needle, but once the initial running stitch has been put down, the foam is tacked down and then I can remove the elastic band. For hats, I do run my embroidery machine at a slightly slower speed than what I do for tubular embroidery. I run it at about 700 stitches per minute, and using the digital presser foot height adjustment, I also raise the presser foot to stop it compressing the 3D puff form as much. I discussed my reasoning behind this more in the previous video linked down below. To remove the hat from the cap frame when finished, you need to unlock the 3 clasps around the frame and gently twist it out from under the needles. By unlocking the strap and removing it from the hat, you can release the hat from the hat hoop. You did use the clips at the back, remember to remove those too, and then you can set the hat hoop aside. My favourite part in this whole process is getting to remove the 3D puff foam. I've sped up the footage, but it does make some very satisfying sounds when you peel away the little foam parts. Then I just continue to tidy up the hat, cutting away any stray threads and also tearing out the stabiliser from the back. When you turn the hat over to inspect the front, which let's face it is the most important part of the hat, if any of the threads look a little loose, you can use a tea lighter to tighten these up. I use Madeira Classic threads. They are a rayon thread, and the heat of the lighter, it can be any lighter or even a heat gun, that heat causes the threads to shrink and it pulls in any parts of bulgy puff embroidery that might be sticking out, giving an overall smooth and professional finish. And here are some cringy videos of me and Jordan modelling the hats. I will do a more in-depth video on 3D puff embroidery in the future, but for now, thank you for watching guys. I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you next time.